Charles, thanks for joining us today. So essentially what I wanted to get your views on to begin here is how exactly do you see the FTX contagion impacting the decentralized finance space?
So essentially, it's a kind of a washout of the industry today, where we see a lot of the centralized exchange, a lot of the intermediaries, which have not been operating always in the best manner, being spotted and essentially rebalanced by the market. What we see, obviously, it has been covered quite extensively over the past week, but it's really standing out the kind of contradiction between centralized finance versus decentralized finance. And eventually, what we can kind of extrapolate is the only counterparties which have been made whole so far in this FTX drama are the smart contracts. So finance, which is embedded by mathematics and which is running on smart contracts, is essentially winning out of that. And every time there is an intermediary, there is potentially a contagion from the fiasco of FTX.
How beneficial will it be actually for regulators and this whole wall of regulation that you're expecting to come, the fact that you do have smart contracts and DeFi playing into this space?
My personal view is the smart contracts and DeFi have everything to potentially be the best friends of regulators. So essentially, with smart contracts and decentralized finance, you can embed all the business logics or the compliance logics you want to implement into one specific type of trades or one specific jurisdiction. So this capability needs to be really embraced by regulators. So I think the industry needs to be stay engaged with regulators and essentially explain. But the fact that you can get a financial infrastructure which is running 24/7, which can be audited 24/7, where you can embed some systematic rules around trading, around KYC, around AML, around leverage, for example. All of these are essentially converging with what the regulators wants to implement. So potentially the smart contract will be great use for regulators and for the industry overall to kind of clean up the industry. And if you look carefully at the action we see from central banks and governments globally on CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, we can really feel that already the technology is being adopted by governments, by regulators, by central banks. A few weeks ago, the MAS from Singapore, together with Banque de France and the Swiss Bank, have been disclosing a project where they are experimenting on DeFi using AMM, automatic market makers. So I think this kind of collapse of FTX in a way can be positive, so that it accelerates the engagements of many players in the financial industry around the technology and making a clear cut between the crypto finance and the crypto technology, which I think are two very separate topics, not to be confused.
Do you see CBDCs as being a threat to decentralized crypto, and does it benefit or at least improve the outlook, given so much has been said about with what happened at FTX, whether this kind of poses an existential threat to the reputation of the broader crypto universe and how much mainstream adoption we're going to see?
Absolutely. CBDCs are a new form of money, the same way there is stable coins, such as USDC or some others. So what we see with the technology of blockchain is essentially money coming in different shape, forms, and possibly brands as well. And CBDCs, I believe, will be sitting next to stable coins and potentially use also DeFi, not necessarily blended with stable coins from all over the place. But it's one of the very strong value proposition for a modern and legitimate new form of money to be embracing the technology, embracing the smart contract capabilities, being able to be audited, transparent, and in a world today where there is a lot of segregations now between many different parts of the world, I think it's definitely tools which can help us to build trust where there is not necessarily trust.
But Charles, what about the downsides of DeFi technology or decentralized exchanges around scalability, liquidity issues, lack of fiat payments? How would you say that the industry is progressing in addressing these?
Absolutely. So DeFi is a young industry. You're totally right. Today, it represents roughly between 2.5 to 5% of the whole crypto trading, decentralized trading versus centralized trading of crypto assets. I think all these topics of fiat, on-ramp and off-ramp, as well as scalability, are progressing by the months. We see the technology really embracing various scalability solutions, such as layer 2s or dedicated chains, such as the one being built by dYdX. I think what's one thing which we should keep an eye on and making sure we progress on that topic is on privacy. With constant auditability of the DeFi system, it brings a lot of security and a lot of parameters which help us to implement regulations. But privacy will be a topic of discussion for sure. So when you've got multiple ledgers which enable constant auditability and transparency, privacy is a topic to stay focused on.
And finally, you spent a long time in the crypto space in Hong Kong, including in the days of when FTX, Alameda were established here and operating here. What sort of special insights could you give us based on your personal experiences here in the city?
I guess Hong Kong has been the center of finance for many, many years, and because of this constant flow of wealth and funds here in Hong Kong, because of the capital market, because of the number of stockbrokers and all this vibrant industry, Hong Kong has been really the birth of many global champions of crypto. So if you think about it, there is 3 listed exchanges in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The likes of FTX was started in Hong Kong, BitMEX was started in Hong Kong, OSL is another key players of the industry, which is also born in Hong Kong. So the city is definitely on the edge of innovation and finance, and it has been a platform for many. Unfortunately, FTX is not a good example anymore, but it's definitely a good sign that essentially the traditional finance and the technology of blockchain bringing us to DeFi is having definitely some good traction and good records as well here in Hong Kong.